about since, well, I watched Gundam Wing, but I really wasn't a Gundam fan at that point. Turn this up, sorry, it's that sensitive. And it wasn't until I got to like freshman year, 2001, is when they had Gundam the 8th MS team on Toonami. Because at that point, Mobile Suit Gundam was canceled, and they blamed that on 9/11, bull crap. And I watched it because I was like, oh man, anime is so dumb, because I got out of it for a while, then I got back into it. And I was like, 8th MS team is cool because it's like World War II stuff, and I like World War II stuff. And it's got like jungles, and it's more guerrilla warfare. And so I got into it from that, and I met people in high school that like I bought model kits from. I even taped the first promo of when Gundam 00 was on Toonami, like late at night. So this was like November. And because when I taped it, I figured I got to tape accidentally Cowboy Bebop episode 20, which was like Piero the Food, the fat guy. That's like my favorite episode. I'm supposed to be using PowerPoint, I'm just talking. I've done panels, but I do like the 18 plus panel that's tonight. And hopefully you guys are going there if you're 18 and over. I don't want to break any rules, but I mean, if you can smuggle in, I won't say anything. All right. So what is Gundam that you speak of? To sum it up, the world of Gundam is a meta series, space opera-ish, I would say. It's spanning over 3 decades, between numerous TV series, OVAs, movies, merchandise, video games, blah, 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 manga, video, like a ton of stuff. And that is their cash cow at this point. I mean, take an example of the new Gundam series that's happening now, Gundam Build Fighters. They're making a show on like their main capital. And I don't know, I really like it. Despite other people that might complain about it. Now the Gundams themselves was thought up with Tomino. Yoshiki Tomino is the creator of the series back in the 70s, because he's been credited for doing, I got it noted down, but like Daiterin 3, I think Voltos. It's on the notes. This is why I have this up here. And pretty much this is kind of the original mecha designs that he did, which looked very human-like. And the original title was supposed to be Freedom Fighter Gunboy, because the main protagonist was going to be pilot a mech with a gun. So he took, which eventually came with the gun, and Freedom became Gundam. I did not cheat off Wikipedia to get that. You didn't hear it from me. Now the Gundam world is, think back 200 or 300 years ago, really how this nation was founded with colonization. I'm taking US history right now at my university, so like all this about like how Spain, France, and England were like the main power sources to like, you know, expand out to the world that is not unknown at that time. And this new world here is space. So, you know, eventually there's a point where, you know, humankind has used up resources on Earth, they go into outer space, and they try to make their lives there. They build colonies, which the term terraform kind of comes up if you guys know or read about the Gundam the Origin manga. I've heard another thing where it's like somebody was like, you can't terraform a space colony. Besides the point. So pretty much humankind has expanded up there, and just kind of like how when humankind goes out and does its own thing, they want to do their own thing literally. So you take a thing where you know, you got your conflicts come up in the Mobile Suit Gundam series. But what really started out Mobile Suit Gundam was a group of factions. It's probably the next slide. There we go. So here we go. I'll get to that in a sec. But Mobile Suit Gundam aired on April 7th, 1979. It was created and directed by Yoshiki Tomino. He's done Super Robot Show stuff. He previously worked on Daiterin 3, Zambot 3, and Voltos V, and Raideen. A few years before doing Gundam, and this was all under, I believe, Sunrise. And an interesting thing about that was Gundam, another cool thing about Gundam is the fact that during the 70s, like, anime shows were made based on the toy line that they would create to make around the show so that kids can buy it. Whereas Gundam kind of bucked the trend there, and this is kind of where the 80s OVA boom started, where, you know, they made what they wanted, and then the merchandise came later because their main source of income was selling the OVAs. Just a little bit of tidbit. So the story starts out with the protagonist named Amuro Ray, who is fated to be the Gundam pilot due to circumstances for the Earth Federation. So he was in a position where he had no choice but to pilot it in the first episode. And regarding the series, I'm not going to really spoil anything for new people because this is an introduction. I want you to go out and actually see it. And then from there, you can read on the internet about how much people hate it or like it. And of course, the series has the standard arch rival thing, which is his arch rival is Char Aznavour, which has this particular white helmet that he wears, which any other Gundam series after that has the same kind of clone or whatever. Alright. Now, Tomino, when he made this, he wanted to make it as a darker tone than like the kid stuff he was doing with Voltus V and Dieturn and everything. Gundam does show strong character development and maturity from Amuro because he grows up as from being a punk kid that basically the captain of the ship, Bright Noah, which you guys probably, if you're a Gundam fan, you would know the term Bright Slap, which Bright doesn't fool around, and he kind of beat his way to growing up, in a sense. So because that had become, he's broken by war and he grows up through that. And of course, the term new type comes up when this is the first series that has the term new type, in which new types are beings that are like half psychic and they can kind of predict things in the future a little bit. And that actually is a theme that comes up in Gundam shows throughout. Hey, what's up? Take a seat in the front. The front. I'm messing with you, man. Alright, next slide. The next one comes... Oh, speaking of Zeon, yeah, I was on that. What I said a few minutes ago. So, Zeon was kind of like sort of the how America came to be when we broke off from England and did our own thing, and that's kind of what Zeon did. And of course, in this case, it was started as a wave, but then the family behind it, which is the Zabi family, turned into this principality and this dictatorship. And that's kind of like gave their name back, gave what they believed in to be its own independent company, or not company, country, out in space to this, in a negative light. And it really wasn't originally supposed to be that, but I'll let you guys figure that out in the show. And the next one is Zeta Gundam, which starts 7 years after the events of Mobile Suit Gundam. It did come out 5 years later after the series ended. And really, actually after the series ended, like Mobile Suit Gundam was not that popular on TV. But as soon as they did compilation movies, that's when it got its boom. And that's like when they made the model kits and like the fans and everything. I think it was something in the early 80s where like 5,000 people went on top of a building to declare that they're Gundam fans. Because they were that dedicated. And this is a case where Zeon is defeated. And 7 years later, we get this sort of a new group, or kind of another power struggle called the Titans, which brought up through the Earth Federation. And they're pretty much kind of like the SS for Germany. They do their own thing. And in this case, like the gas colonies with civilians in it when they try to uprise against the Earth government. And like you get to see that, like, here's the, really to break down the Earth Federation because it does weaken throughout Universal Century. Here's the good guys, but they do a lot of bad stuff. And that's no different than any other country, especially when learning about U.S. history regarding like, here we got all this land, but we took out Indians and westward expansion and everything. So I'll move along. So the Zeta Gundam crew is the lead protagonist named Camille. Now the actual Zeta Gundam doesn't come up until like halfway through the series. And of course at first they get like different Gundams that they can try out. And he starts out with this other one rejects from the Titans. And then eventually the Zeta Gundam comes out. Now the Camille is the same as Amuro, but he's more of an ass. In certain cases throughout the show, like there was one part where apparently he just cripples down a mountain. And even throughout the series, like they're doing a drop on Earth, and like some guy that was shooting at him 5 minutes ago, both sides are taking this like equal stance on like, we're not going to shoot each other until we hit the ground. And Camille's like, no, F that, you're a dick. And he just shoots him in space and they burn up. And he's like, well, you should have shot at me 5 minutes ago. Okay. That's what you get. Now the series does return people from the other Mobile Suit Gundam series, including Captain Bright, which she winds up being the leader of this other new... I lost my train. Okay. So there's like the new faction that rebel against the Titans, and he becomes like the main group around that. And there's also some old rivals that show up in the series, question mark. Now this was adapted into 3 movie adaptations in 2005 called The New Translation, which alters the ending of the TV series to make it happier. And they added in old and new animation with it. It does not look good. Like, there's 1 second I'm watching old 80s animation, and then like it's bam, new cell, everything, and I'm just like, oh, that's pretty. Then it switches back to the old one, and my eyes start hurting from seeing that. And I think the guy who directed was like, you know, if I could do that again, we should have just done all new animation. And I'm like, should have done that in the first place. But fans still bought it. I did. So, I don't know if I want to say that, like, if you're interested, you can start out with the movies and then see if you like the TV series. But the TV series is going to get more out of it, I'd say. Next up is Double Zeta, which is a show that's really not anime, as they have an intro theme called It's Not Anime. Funny. And it aired like a week right after Zeta Gundam did. Now this is considered one of the lowest Gundam series by fans due to its upbeat humor coming from a series that was abysmally depressing. And Zeta Gundam is really not the most depressing thing I've seen. Tomino has a habit where he gets in these moods and he'll make something and he'll kind of put his own emotion into it and kind of his own way to rebel against Sunrise. That comes up in Victory Gundam, which I will cover. Then of course in this case, it starts out really comedic and then it gets really serious, but not as serious as Zeta Gundam. Like, I personally liked Double Zeta. Even the slapstick humor was kind of funny and how they did things. They've even got like space Aztecs and mobile suit wielding scimitars. Like mobile suits that have scimitars like in the Middle East or something. Yeah, that's not racist. And again, this starts up with another protagonist named Juga Ashta, who's a junkyard kid with a bunch of misfits on a colony. They get thrown into the same crew from the Zeta Gundam series to take on the Neo-Axis powers, which is basically ex-Xeon people that survived the 1 Year War to come back to take over the Earth. Which actually this is connected to how the ending of Zeta Gundam happened. Now the show does write off people from Zeta, but then brings it back, okay. Starts off comedic, I said that. Regarding the comedic things, there is a food fight in the first episode of the spaceport for then like the kids to try to take over the ship. So, I guess I don't know, I kind of had comedic. That's just me. Like I said, Aztec space colonists and scimitar building suits. Oh, and there's another colony drop as well. Colony drops happen a lot. I should mention that. Next up is Char's counterattack. And this takes place 5 years after the events of Double Zeta Gundam in the TV series, but this comes out like 9 years after the TV show in Japan aired. This kind of concludes the final conflict with Amuro and Char, sort of. And of course, like, Char was supposed to add, or Tomino was supposed to add Char to Double Zeta Gundam, but once he got the green light to do the movie, he didn't even bother to bring him back. Let's see. Of course, in this one, Char is now in charge of the Neo Xeon, and he returns from the final battle of Zeta Gundam, so he becomes as the leader. Char's goal is to drop the asteroid Axis onto Earth, which is the asteroid was like on the outer belt, like near Mars or something, somewhere in there where like the Xeon actually retreated to after the 1 Year War. And his goal was to drop it on Earth, so as a way for humanity to fully colonize space and to be new types, because he has gone off his damn rocker at that point. And yeah. Now it's up to Amuro and Bright to team up, and they're on the ship. Amuro's back to being a Federation pilot at this point, and they go to try to stop him. Bright has a son named Hathaway, and we get introduced to probably the most annoying female teen protagonist, Quest. Who gives a damn what her last name is? I think it's Pariah, or Piranha. I don't know. But, oh god. Like, you mentioned her name to Gundam fans, and they're like, oh god, that character was annoying. But really, it's kind of this image of, like, I guess what Tomino thought average 14-year-old girls are. So, and he's not far from that idea. I guess you have to be older to see things that way. Because if you're 14, you're not going to see that. But once you're like 30-something, you're like, man, 14-year-olds are so annoying. But it's more of a big power trip. Like, he gives her like the biggest mobile armor to scale, I think, and she just does whatever she wants, and that comes to bite her in the butt later. Now, the ending of the film has been debated for years now. I don't want to spoil it because I'm not sure if there's an actual solid conclusion, and I think they're going to mention that in Gundam Unicorn, the last OVA that's coming up, which I will cover Gundam Unicorn in a bit. Then we got Mobile Suit Gundam War in the Pocket, which is one of the first Gundam OVAs, which is a 6-episode thing that sums up the final month or so of the one-year war through the eyes of a kid on a neutral colony. And yeah, it is tied into the original TV series, like I said. He's the protagonist, of course, because it surrounds him, and he doesn't pilot a mobile suit or anything, but he's just seeing the world through his eyes, and he winds up supporting the wrong side with Zeon. Which what happens is there's a battle on the colony, or an attack to find information or something, and like one of the pilots that's left behind, or he's not really left behind, but he gets back there to this special ops mission or whatever, and the kid sees him again and they grow like a close friendship. I should mention that David Hayter voices the voice of Bernie, the guy who voices Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid games. And he wrote the screenplay for like, I think, X-Men 2 and Watchmen, if I'm not mistaken. You're welcome to correct me on that if I'm wrong. Okay, so it's focused on a 10-year-old Alfred as Bruja. Let's see. World has changed from the Zeon pilot shotgun, just slides. Now the OVA introduces a Gundam that is piloted by a female test pilot, which is actually Al's friend, from her next door neighbor or whatever. And everyone in that around this Gundam is surrounded in this world, becomes involved in Al's world, both in and out of fighting. Take place around Al. Okay. So the only mention to the original series that they have is like the Gundam that they were making was supposed to be like, if the one war didn't end like it did, this would have been honored as a mobile suit. Which I thought was pretty interesting, but they only make like a brief mention to it. Next up is Gundam F91. This is 30 years after the events of Char's counterattack, which is another new empire in space called the Crossbone. They call themselves the Crossbone Vanguard. They threaten Earth. This is supposed to be a whole series to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Mobile Suit Gundam TV series, but due to staff issues, the whole 50-episode idea is condensed in a 2-hour movie. And I gotta say, it did not work out that well. It starts out with the main protagonist, Seabook, is caught in an invasion colony. He's destined to be the Gundam pilot, same formula. He's got a friend that gets kidnapped, which she winds up being, or Cecily, who winds up being, he tries to rescue, but she basically biologically belongs to the family who controls the Vanguard, which is like the Roman family. The Federation government at this time is getting weaker, and they blow up the whole threat like it's really nothing. Like there's moments in the movie where they try to mention, like, we try to contact the Federation for help, but they're not taking this threat seriously, because at this point, the Federation doesn't give a damn. And that's just showing the power weakening, and it's kind of the same way as throughout U.S. history, as I've learned. Britain didn't really care what the American colonies were doing at the time when the revolution happened. So it's kind of an interesting way to think about it. The idea of new types comes back as the main protagonist and launches the potential to be in the new Gundam, of course. Mobile Suit Gundam Stardust Memories is another OVA that happened. The next OVA happened like a couple years after Double O, 1991. It takes place 3 years after the events of Mobile Suit Gundam, and it focuses on a Zeon pilot, or another, like a mini Zeon revolution that takes place, which the Zeon antagonist and Ace, Ana Delgato, hijacks a Gundam armed with a nuclear warhead. That Federation protagonist Cody Rocky must do everything to stop him. This is another OVA where new types are not brought up. And this one, it's a 13-episode anime that focuses on the Zeon remnants, and they try to reclaim glory once more. This also explains the challenge of the Federation forces, the change in Federation forces between the Mobile Suit Gundam and Zeta Gundam, as because of this incident, the rise of the Titans happened. Let's see. Now, when it comes to Gundam, fans, they either immensely despise this OVA, or they kind of like it. I like it. I could basically say that it's kind of like watching Top Gun for people that like Gundam. Like, its animation's spectacular. You won't get anything wrong with that. And like I said, the notes, the weakness is basically poor cookie cutter story, and then hell of a piss poor love triangle. It does not go anywhere. And really the animation and how the characters are designed is the positive thing. I think they had people from the Macross TV show working on this, and I think they're trying to institute like, oh, there needs to be like a love triangle thing because we had that in Macross, so let's try to add it with this. And like I said, it's done in mecha form, as in it's the Top Gun movie from Gundam fans. Next up is one of my personal favorite anime series, or that too, but also Gundam series, is Victory Gundam. How I got a hold of this was back in high school when I was starting to be a Gundam fan. I had a guy that basically gave me 4 CDs of the whole series in real media format, so they were like 60 or 80 megabytes big. With like 6 episodes stacked on, so they're pretty pixelated for like 2001 technology. But I was like, I don't care, I'll just Gundam, I'll take it. I wound up, and it was fan subbed in Chinese, so I only got like a few episodes into that. And then later, once another group went to fan sub it, I got to see the whole thing that way. I still enjoyed it. Of course, this one takes place 30 years after the events of F91. New colony power has again come up, named the Yesteryear Empire. And the Federation is just getting weaker and weaker. It has the series had the youngest Gundam pilot protagonist at the age of 13, which is Uso Eda. This is considered the darkest of the Gundam series to date. Okay, so it starts out, Federation's in the weakest state. There is a bit of a militia group called the League Military that's there to try to fight the combatant thing, and they kind of team up with the Federation at the end, or what's left of it. Of course, Uso was thrown into this. I do want to say, if you watch the first episode, it's really like episode 4 or 5, and the way they did it was because Sunrise wanted Tomito to introduce the Gundam in the first episode. So when you watch the first episode, you're like, none of this makes sense, and then the second episode starts up where how everything got up to that point. And that was really Sunrise's decision. But of course in this one, yeah, does the same thing where like he's got a childhood friend that's kidnapped, and the same thing in F91 where she's related to the people that are part of the Yesteryear Empire. And this is kind of where Tomino got his name, Kill 'Em All, where just about every main person dies off in a horrific deaths on both sides. Not as bad as Space Runaway Ideon, where everyone literally dies. I actually got to see the Ideon movies recently, and my co-host and I reviewed it. The end of Ideon is basically everyone dies, and Tomino did it because he didn't want it to become like a Gundam franchise, so he decided to just kill everyone off because he just did not care. And everyone goes to space heaven, and they sing the happy birthday thing. I am not making this up. Go see the movies. I'm actually going to be showing a panel. I got one of the heck moments in anime, and I am going to show a clip of that tonight. So if you guys want to stop by and see it for yourself, I will say that it's a personal thing of why I don't think children should fight in wars. I'll leave it at that. It's even said on the Japanese DVD series that like people who bought it, there's a video of Tomino telling people not to buy this series because that's how much he hates the thing. So you buy like a DVD set for $100, and there's like the creator of it telling you like, why did you buy this? What the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, I need to get a hold of this thing. We're not going to get in America because, hey, no Bandai USA, so, oh well. Mobile Fighter God Gundam came after this. This is going off the tracks where they basically turn Gundams into a fighting show. And this is, I guess, like pure Gundam fans are going to say they hate this, but then a lot of people that saw this in Toonami, even myself, was like, this is a fun show, and it's rad as hell. It's just a fun show, and the guy who directed it, Gisaro Imagawa, did the OVA series Giant Robo. And you talk to any anime fan that's seen Giant Robo, I haven't seen the entire thing yet, even though I own a DVD, I got a Laserdisc for it. I'm just that lazy. But, like, people love Giant Robo. And he hasn't done a lot of directing work since, like, after this, and he's done things here and there, but, like, I gotta say, God Gundam came out pretty good. Let's see. Of course, this focuses around the main protagonist, who is Domonkashi is a Neo-Japan fighter trying to find his brother, who's basically kind of double-crossed him and made this like ultimate dark devil Satan Gundam. Now the world of this, there was a battle royale, a big fight. Every 4 years, the CEO controls the sphere. Have you guys ever seen the movie Robot Jocks? Okay, it's like that where they have a tournament of who controls Earth, like every year or so, but this one it's like every 4 years. So probably Imagawa got that idea from Robot Jocks. There is no chainsaw penises. If you saw the movie, you saw that one mech that had a chainsaw grow out between its legs, and that's when I was like, this is a cool movie. For like 1989 or something. Well, actually, there's Zeta Gundam has a mobile suit called the O, and there's an actual beam saber in between its legs that comes out. So, sexual pun intended, maybe. Of course, this is totally not racist because they even got Gundams like the Scud Gundam, which represents Neo-Iraq. The Tequila Gundam of Neo-Mexico, Pharaoh Gundam of Egypt, and some more. And of course, each Neo country has a colony in a space of their own that is designed on how Imagawa views their culture. This is a love or hate it kind of Gundam show for fans. And like I said, it's totally not racist. So, Arriba, Viva la Neo Mexico. Great show, check it out. Yeah, see. So Gundam Wing, this is what got on Toonami, or something called Toonami. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. That's how I personally saw Gundam. And it was funny because I looked on the internet at the time, and that's when I heard people were talking yeah, there's a series that came 20 years ago when it started. I was like, really? Oh my gosh! I couldn't really find more anything about it at that point. And then once it started coming on Toonami, like the original Mobile Suit Gundam and stuff, then I was like, oh, this is cool. And then stuff on the internet just got more reliable to get information from. And of course, this is directed by a guy named Shinji Takamatsu, who's done work for some Gundam, the SD Gundam short parodies in the 80s that he did, which you can probably find experiments of that online. It's only when I said that. This is kind of like the boy band. We all remember NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees and all that. I'm kind of rubbing the bridge of my nose on this. What time is it? I don't even know what time it is. I don't even know how I'm doing on time. Alright, I got 30 minutes. Awesome. So this is kind of like the boy band of Gundam pilots, and their goal is to try to fight the Unite Earth Sphere Alliance and their tyrannical rule. And I said I had to wiki to read whatever the hell the pilot was to the show again. Because when I saw this when I was 14, it didn't make any sense. Because there's different factions and stuff. And I think I saw it a few years ago and I was like, this is actually a little bit more depth than I thought. It's just not solidly made that way. And of course, the show has many factions that comes up. And the pilots, pick and choose if they want to join it or not. And of course, they wind up joining together in the end. And also watch out, because this show has total pacifism in it. They talk about pacifism, and yet all these battles are happening, and this is the main girl who wants it to happen. Just see this shit by yourself. I talked about the boy band aspect and everything. This even has a carbon copy of a Shard, villain named Zex Marquis, who serves as the protagonist, along with a few crazy women. One of them has pitchfork eyebrows, which at 14 I thought was pretty hot. Come on, you can't blame. If you just manicure the suckers, she's actually pretty cool. Hot. Okay. No, she's not cool, she's insane. But anyways, the next one that came out was a 12-episode OVA, again going back to the 1-year war, called Gundam MS Team. It follows a squad of Federation pilots in the war-torn jungles of the 1-year war, Vietnam, Taiwan, stuff like that. The series was directed by two directors, the first being Taiyuki Kaneda, and the other being Yumanosuke Lida. It says Lida. That might be I don't know. The OVA follows this new Federation pilot, the commander of a mobile suit team called Shiro Amato, who's about to be one. And he's basically taken this squadron that their commander basically went insane, and he's taking over it, and he's doing everything to prove himself to them. Of course, there's another one where there's no mention of new types in it. Kind of, sort of. And this is the kind of follows like the War is Hell story, where we see Shiro make hard decisions that affect not only him, but his fellow squad mates. Every time I think of this anime, I think of Platoon, and I don't know, I guess Full Metal Jacket would be pushing it, right? It's not that bad. What? Yeah, that's another good one. Oh man. I think I've thought of ideas of like, man, if they could just make a live-action one and just make it with Apocalypse Now, but just have mobile suits in it. It'd be a 5-hour movie of them just going down the river with mobile suits. And of course, this has a love story that kind of eases way halfway through the OVA between Shiro and this other Xeon pilot that meets up in the first episode. Now, the reason why there's two directors is the original one was killed in a car accident halfway through this anime, and then Yumano Suke came in and took up the staff and the flag or whatever, and it was put on hiatus until they found someone. So like really, it's probably supposed to be like a year thing, but it just took like a couple years longer than that. Now, Taiyuki's credited for directing 80s mech shows like Bifam, Armored Hunter Melolink, which Melolink is really awesome to see. It's part of the Votoms universe. If you guys want to check it out, you can. You don't have to know too much about Votoms. But it's basically think Rambo meets Votoms and mechs, and they did it right. I didn't think it would be possible. He also did Fang of the Sun Dobran and Blue Sonnet, which was like I think that's the lady that does Sailor Moon, I think that might be her that does Blue Sonnet, I'm not sure. And of course, Yumanosuke is directed for doing credited for doing the Devilman OVAs. Our podcast actually did a review of the first one, that's our Halloween special. Mighty Space Miners and another series called Hellsing that you guys might know about. I actually haven't seen all of Hellsing. I think I've seen like one episode. And that was the cool thing to see like 10 years ago. This is another Gundam X. Is a series that started right after the Wing ended. Another alternative universe anime Gundam series that has nothing to do with UC timeline because they kind of got away from that at this point. It's the same, directed by the same guy who did Gundam Wing, Shinji Takamatsu. This focuses on 15 years later after a mass colony drop happened, destroyed the world and left it to nothing. The series protagonist is a guy named Gerard Van, who's basically, he's a mobile suit scrap seller, hustler, and all-around punk who gets involved with kidnapping a girl named Tifa from an organization called Vultures that wants to join up with them. So the show has the person become the protagonist, and he meets other pilots to fight a rebirth of the new Federation government. New types are brought back into this series, and this is the first one to be brought back since F91. Some of the new types are brothers, dolphins, and even the freaking moon. And I'm not making this up to try to sell this show. It took me like 3 or 4 months to actually watch this thing. It wasn't something I dove into, and it's okay. If you want to check it out, you can. Any of the stuff I might bash on, my overall goal is please check it out, just to see it for yourself. Turning Gundam came out right after this. Yoshiki Tomino comes back to take the director's seat. This is a show dedicated to the 20th anniversary of Gundam. This also has a Gundam-looking mustache. Let's see. This takes place in another century called Correct Century 2. Or you guys will know it. And the protagonist is a guy named Warren, who's part of the Moon Race, which is a bunch of people on the moon that have inhabited it and colonized it and made it their own thing, separate from the Earth. Of course, Warren is going through conflict with the Moon Race that started an all-out offensive to take back the Earth, and Warren is destined to be the Gundam pilot. And this is another, of course, he's got to be thrown into it. Let's see. And the setting for this is very like late 19th century Victorian, where you see biplanes take on mobile suits, and guess who wins that fight? It's pretty interesting. Like you got this, gung-ho. They wind up, some of the pilots that do survive, like the first wave, become mobile suit pilots, which kind of brings in like older models from Mobile Suit Gundam. The reason why was Tomino decided to make a series where all the previous Gundam series were all under one universe to begin with, which leads me to believe that in 2,000 years, people still were cool with mobile suits and the wars that they bring. No one figured out to just stop making them so they didn't have any more wars, right? I was going to ask something to that. Yeah, I am adding this. This thing exists. G-Seibu. It's a live-action movie made by Canadians. So they want another live-action Gundam movie. Don't let the Canadians make it. This is supposed to commemorate the Gundam 20th anniversary project, and nobody really likes it a lot. There's nothing to like about it. All right. Of course, in the whole movie, the word Gundam is never mentioned. I had a Wikipedia the article to this, and I think read the back of the DVD case, because the back of the DVD case and the Wikipedia article says a lot more about this movie than you actually watch it. And the story, best I remember, is a guy named Mark who becomes a Gundam pilot, and there's a government conspiracy regarding a food shortage plaguing concept, which is this other movement that's come out. This takes place in Universal Century 0223, which is 7 years after Victory Gundam, and fans consider this the nail in the coffin for the UC Gundam series because they really haven't expanded anything past that point. Tomino at Anime Expo 2000 stated his disapproval of this movie. I can't blame him, even though he had no hand in it. Thank God for that. I don't know, because then everyone would have been killed off, and I think they would have been better. And of course, soon after the bad press, Bandai stopped producing the DVDs in the States, and Sunrise has mentioned that it's not tied to the Gundam Meta series, so of course their hands are clean of this. Can't blame them. Yeah. I had to cover the Seed series. I've only seen part of it. So Gundam Seed was like the new Gundam series from the Millennium, came out in 2002. I was in my sophomore year of high school when this came out, like right when I started it. And of course this marks the current Gundam TV's generation of this century. I'll just say that, so of course this series takes place in this, another alternative title called Cosmic Era comic, 71, where two kinds of people exist, the Earth's naturals, and space's coordinators, which coordinators want to be like the new types anyways. This kind of follows the same formula as any other Mobile Suit Gundam, where Kira Yamato is thrown into a war between Zaft and the Earth Alliance. I guess it's kind of a nice throwback to the original series if you like you can tie the two together because it kind of works out that way. Alright, again, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been like decades since I've seen this show, and I don't know if I'm going to go back to it. Yeah, so coordinators are like the new type of subhuman people or whatever. This was featured on Friday nights on Cartoon Network in April, May 2004, and I did tape it. And it was later put on at 1 a.m. around October, which I never knew about until the show was about over. Like, I was at a friend's house, and it was like 1:30 in the morning. I was like, yeah, let's just put on something on TV so we can, watch something as we're going to sleep. And then like episode 49 of Gundam Seed was on. I was like, what the fuck? I thought this was over. Like, I didn't even know it was still airing. And apparently they just skipped the week and then moved the time slot without telling anyone about it, because I didn't know about it. But I don't think I was missing much. I'm going to be honest, I didn't write too much about this because it was so hard. Destiny is the second season. It's part of the Seed thing. It's directed by the same guy who did Seed. I'm just going to this. And there's a new protagonist named Shin Asuka who joins up with Gundam Seed protagonist Opteron from the last show and should try to prevent another war from happening. I guess they need the money at this point. And there's also the nickname of Kira Jesus Yamato that I've heard so many times. I don't even know if I got to see the series to this. This was a series that, despite being popular, many fans believe this was the weakest Seed series. I guess it's kind of weak all around. Double O comes up next. It's actually the first Gundam series that takes place in our own timeline, or our own universe, which has an 80 tag to it. So the series is directed by C.G. Mizushimi, who's also directed things like Shaman King and a little title called Full Metal Alchemist. Okay, the series starts out kind of like Gundam Wing, where Gundam Wing, every mobile suit was overpowering, and they could just take out anything like it was paper. Like literally, I think the mobile suits in Wing and kind of this series, you can spin on it and it just catch fire. My ultimate goal is to get a Leo model kit one day and just blast it with a shotgun. I felt the need to do that for like 6 years now, but I don't know, I'm gonna have to justify like 60 bucks on a master grade just to blow it away with a 12 gauge, just so I can. And like I said, it focuses around the 80 era. These new group of people is Gundam Meisters that stop wars by fighting with everything. So they're armed interventions and they come in there basically to be the police of the world because there's too much fighting. That comes back to bite them on the butt later. The series changes gears halfway through the first season and pulls a Zaft, Zeta Gundam type story, which many Gundam fans will say it's not all that great, at least the second half. When I say Gundam fans, it's those people like Gundam podcast that were like, oh, the second season was not that good. But the last battle was pretty awesome. And now this did air on Sci-Fi. Notice how I spelled it the right way, the old way. On the Sci-Fi Anna Monday blog back in the fall of 2008 in dub form. And I was excited to see this. And I actually taped the first season, I taped whatever I could of the second season at that time. I was like, hey, free anime, free Gundam? I'm not going to complain. So far, this is the latest one. It's an OVA series that's been going on for like 4 years now. Gundam Unicorn. A lot of fans, including myself, really like this. This goes back to the Universal Century timeline, 3 years after the events of Char's counterattack. The OVA is directed by Kazuhiro Furuhashi, who has directed the Fatal Fury OVA, Hunter x Hunter, and Le Chevalier Beyond. I don't even know if I said the last word right. This also involves around a normal teen being, or Menage Lynx, who gets involved in a large conspiracy of involving both the Neon Xenon faction and the Earth Federation, and becomes the Gundam pilot. His job is to protect and save a character called Audrey Byrne, who becomes more than she appears later, and a new protagonist named Full Frontal, which is the guy with the blonde mullet. And he is rocking that, I gotta say. It's nice hair. I'm kind of jealous. I could do it. I mean, give it like a couple years, but I'd rather just make this the how nice his hair is panel than just talk about Gundam, right? The OVA series comes from a novel series that was released in 2006 by that guy, Harutoshi Fukui, and he adds more of the time. He adds more into the time gap between Char's counterattack and F91. This is the longest OVA series production for a Gundam title since its seventh and final OVA will be released in 2014, 4 years after the first OVA. So they're taking their sweet time on this, and my thing is if you're going to make something great, the more time you need on it, the better, because fans are still going to watch this, but the payoff of what they make is even greater when they spend that much time instead of just fleshing out something. But this is Gundam, and that's kind of what they do. Now, honorable mentions, there's the 80s SD Gundam shorts, which are just comedic things. You can probably find gifs of that on the internet. SD Gundam Force, which is what you mentioned. Again, you don't really have to watch these. Newest series is Gundam Build Fighters, which I'm actually kind of digging. The Gundam compilation movies, that was like the first, in the first series, and then also you've got the Zeta Gundam ones that they did. Gundam Igloo is UC related, but it's like 2001 CGI technology for Gundam. I gotta say the mobile suit designs and the mech designs look pretty good, but those expressions in the characters' faces are kind of creepy at times. But you know, hey, they try. There's Gundam Evoke, which is a bunch of little shorts, and then there's Gunpla Builders Beginning G, which is like a 3 little part OVA of like the idea of game companies to make the best Gundam arcade game ever. You basically show up with your Gunpla, put it in an arcade machine, and you can use that to pilot other people. And I'm hoping they're going to make that soon. So I come up with a degree program for anyone semi-familiar with college to kind of help you guys watch this. So let's say you want you want to start with like Universal Century stuff. I'd say go with like the Gundam movies, the Gundam compilation movies for the first series. You got the OVAs, Gundam 00 and 083, and then Gundam Unicorn. So if you like that, you can move on to the TV series and do the TV series first before that, however you choose. The TV series is going to be the original Mobile Suit Gundam. You got Zeta and Double Zeta Gundam, and then Victory Gundam. And of course, I mentioned like an Associates and Universal Centuries. I guess you just add that up. And there's also the Gundam movies, which is Char's Counterattack, Gundam F91, and G-Saber, but it's not required, but optional at your own risk. I'm just saying, like, that might be the last resort you want to watch if you're that curious about it. That's just me. You're welcome to debate it. I'll do a Q&A thing afterwards, and we can. I'll say I'm not so much afraid of it, but you forget about it a day later. I first saw it at like my grandparents' house like a few years ago when I bought it, and like I finally sat down and watched it. 2 days later, I forgot everything about G-Saber. I literally forgot everything. And then when Podcast and I reviewed it like a year ago or so, we were watching it again, and I was like, man, I forgot a lot of stuff that, thank God I did. Again, you can, if you want to take notes on this, like you guys, I don't know if you guys are, but if you have too good memory, there's just something to look at. You can look on Wikipedia and look this stuff up. It's Gundam Wikipedia, and just to kind of get an idea about it. Then there's also the Alternative Universe Associate's degree, which is like, you got your alternative AU certificate universes, which is like God Gundam, which definitely go ahead and watch that first before any of the rest. Gundam Wing, that's like optional. Gundam X, same thing too. Then we got the 2000 stuff, which is Gundam Seed and Seed Destiny, and then Gundam 00, which 00 is newer, so you might check that out more. Then we got the other series, which is Gundam Age and Gundam Day Fighters. And hey, we're done. Thank you for attending and asking me anything. Also check out What the Heck Moments in Anime at 10, and then there's a Gun Club panel at 6 p.m. So definitely look that up. Please ask me questions. Tell me if this sucked or not. I don't care. I'm open to anything. Questions, comments? What's up? Original video animation. I can talk about that one. That was kind of like what made anime really big in the 80s. And like companies would make small, like 45-minute shorts and put it on VHS. And back in the 80s, like the big boom of that was to get anime really popular again. It was kind of how they changed the format from the 70s to the 80s. It was like, making the anime first, and which leads to merchandise coming later. And there's a ton of OVA stuff in the 80s. And they even still make OVAs now, where they're mostly shorts on like stuff that exists today. I probably should do a panel on 80s OVA, I guess. Any other questions? What's up? Victory Gundam. Victory Gundam for me was when I first, like, learning how depressing it is. I remember there's, like I said, people die off in that series all the time. One of them was like, the main character kills off like this Zanskar pilot or whatever. He winds up going to the graveside of the pilot, I guess, to pay his respects, and the guy's wife and the pilot's wife and child are there. And the wife is trying to keep her composure, and she just loses it. And like Russo is just like seeing the impact of like what he's done. And that's just stuck with me. And of course the other thing was like a couple of Zanskar pilots were like somehow got mixed up and they were lovers, but they wound up killing each other on accident. It's just pretty bad. I think a lot of it's kind of lost to me. There was a group called like there's like 6 females and they wound up, like half of them die off within 3 episodes. And they didn't even leave Earth at that point. Total Eclipse? Okay. Yeah, see, in Victory Gundam, it was like, the person I thought died 20 episodes ago was like, wait, they're still around, but never mind, they just died. So, I was like, well, okay, Tamino, what's next? Yeah, it would have been interesting if the original director finished it out and didn't die, because I honestly think the stuff that he's done, it probably would have been like, he wanted probably to kill or like something would have happened to her instead of like the love story happened. You're talking about Miller's report? Thanks for attending. Yeah, it's the intelligence officer that's like going over the events. Yeah, it was good. Her name was like Alicia or something. Like Alice Miller or something like that. It just, her name reminds me of some character out of like a Silent Hill game or Resident Evil or something. Now they actually showed Miller's report on Tomorrow. I do remember that. I think they might have showed it when I was watching it, but I didn't even realize it. I kind of want to go with the V2 Gundam. That's plot armor. I'm calling it what I see. Well, oh gosh, I didn't even talk about him as walls.
GPO-2 fires a nuclear missile. What can I say? That's got to be the most powerful. GPO-2 from...
They were dumb enough to put the damn missile in the Gundam in the first place, and God was like, hey, I'm going to take this, thanks. And he winds up blowing up like half the Federation fleet.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the missile thing. That was like episode 7 or something. And then he's like, I messed up. Damn it, I messed up.